Hello everyone and welcome to the Hunter Association, your source for all things Hunter x Hunter. My name is Kaige.
And my name is Dylan.
And on this week's episode, we are joined by a special guest, Brayden Farrell. How's it going, Brayden?
What? I'm doing pretty good.
So this is, if you've listened to a good amount of stuff on our channel and on our podcast feed, you will have heard the name Brayden before. I'm sure a couple times. Recently on the Net Impact episode we talked about him, and
yeah, I heard what you guys said about me too. I really took that to heart. You guys talking all kinds of crap about me when I'm not there to defend myself. Thankfully, I had some loyal defenders in the comment section that came to my aid.
That is true. You had some aid in the comments, which is great.
Yeah. Maybe that's what inspired his appearance today.
Maybe. We'll get into more details about Brayden here in a moment, but just know he's just a great pal of ours, great friend. He's similar, a guest akin to Dan.
Yes. Very much within that same realm, I suppose.
But yeah, this is also the first guest we've had in a while, which is nice. So this will actually get us back on track. We have another guest lined up at the beginning of next month, so look forward to guests back in the rotation, starting with Brayden here. So in this episode with our buddy here, we are going to be talking about the manga series that Togashi did before Hunter x Hunter and after Yu Yu Hakusho called Level E. So if you haven't read that and you're clicked on this video for some reason, I would recommend reading it before listening to this, because the way we'll be talking about this is a little unorthodox compared to how we've talked about things in the past, but I'll get into that in a few moments here. Then after that, of course, we will be going through our community comments. If you would like to join in on the community and have your comment read, be sure to comment on the YouTube version, either on the video or on the community post. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to help grow our community of Hunter x Hunter fans. Additionally, if you'd like to know when new episodes are live, click the bell to enable notifications. If you are an audio listener, make sure to rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at TXHXAPod, as well as Bluesky at just THAPod. For podcast-related updates and to submit responses to the weekly call-out posts. If you'd like, you can also still email us at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com. As always, we provide the timestamps in the description if you'd like to skip ahead to any of the aforementioned segments. All right, Brayden. Let's talk to you a bit. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah,
so
I'm all ears.
Hunter x Hunter, this is what this podcast is about, even though it's not actually what we're going to be talking about today. But because we have you on, we still have an excuse to talk about it. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't watched other episodes with guests, we like to talk to our guests about their experience with Hunter x Hunter before we start the show like normal, get to know them as a Hunter x Hunter fan. So Brayden, how did you get into Hunter x Hunter to begin with?
This is kind of a two-parter. So back in the day, I watched the 2011 anime. I believe when it was still airing, this was probably like 2011, 12. I only got as far as I think I got out of the Hunter exam. I was really into it. This was we're talking back in the old days. I would YouTube to MP3 episodes on my iPod Touch. That's what we were working with. And I thought it was really cool. And I kind of grew out of anime for a while, and then just recently, what was that? I think it was the tail end of 2023 when I was getting really into manga. I just read One Piece and JJK and everything, and I knew that Dylan was a huge fan, and you were as well. And you guys were like, you know what, you really need to get into Hunter x Hunter. So I started watching it. It took me a year, but once I got about halfway through Chimera Ant, and I came back to it. That's when I binged it. That's last winter. So I'm pretty freshly caught up on everything.
Yeah, and of course you read the manga after you caught up to the anime.
Yeah. It was actually after this most recent hiatus had started again. So
yeah, so
you got through the manga pretty quickly too, which was pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, I did. I really wanted to read everything that I had watched as well, but I was too excited to see where everything ended up. So
understandable for sure.
You'll backfill.
One day.
Favorite character?
So I knew I was going to be asked this. I probably gave this way more thought than I should have because I feel like I didn't think too much on the other questions. But I on my Mal I have Hisoka. I just think Hisoka is such a good antagonist, and I think it's really compelling that it's such a creepy freak, which that usually makes for a good antagonist. Is so entertaining, and you generally don't agree with him, but you're just so intrigued in what he's gonna do next. He's not like he's not like in the class of villain like Dio or something like that, where he's just so evil like it's hilarious. But he kind of like rides this fine line where he's like a freak and like I kind of get what he's getting at here, that kind of thing. But a close second would be Pito. Pito. Is that how you pronounce that actually?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Pito.
that's right.
Yeah. Love Pito. Pito is very gender, to be honest, which I really appreciate. That's something I know we'll be talking about that later, like with Togashi's work. But I appreciate that. Even though, all of the Chimera ants are kind of, their gender is dubious, I feel like that's a particularly strong example of that, and just which kind of leads into my favorite moment, which I know we're gonna get to before too long.
Right now, in fact, what's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment? I'm not going to say this is my all-time favorite moment, but obviously Gon, like, sacrificing his life and everything and all his powers in that scene where he kills Pito. Huge fan of that scene. Mm-hmm. When Uvo dies, I really like that scene too. That's a big one for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know, dude. That's like harder than the favorite character. I feel like it's just one of those series where it's like there's always like a moment. Like like obviously like Chimera, there's just whole arcs that are incredible, but like there's always these really strong moments out of nowhere. And yeah, it's kind of hard to say. But I guess that would be what I would choose. Kind of a lame answer. I know that's got to be given to you guys at least once before, but
actually I don't know if it has been. Now that I'm thinking about it,
maybe I don't think so. Maybe might have been Radman's pick. No, I don't think it was. No, Radman's pick was the on top of the world tree.
Yes, that sounds right.
So
I'm pretty sure you're the first to say the adult Gon moment, which is like fantastic. So
yeah.
I mean,
that's my favorite. Well, other than
the longer I think about it, yeah, it's really difficult. Recently, Fugetsu and
Kacho.
Yes, Kacho.
Yeah, Kacho. That chapter was
yes, that's one of the best chapters. I love that.
Yeah, I think it still might be my favorite chapter to come out of Succession War. Still, mm-hmm. It's at least like top 3 easily.
Yeah, that is a brilliant
Succession
chapter.
War. Succession
Contest.
War. Yeah, contest. Whatever. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, that's a whole debate. I already know the answer to this one. Why even bother asking? But I'll do it anyways. Is your favorite arc anything other than Chimera Ant?
It obviously is my favorite, but I think it's pretty well tied with like York New.
Good choice. That's my second favorite.
I think York New's probably a little more consistent. I love the beginning of Chimera Ant, and it's absolutely essential to the build-up and everything, but it's not as like thoroughly entertaining. I feel like
it takes a while to get going.
Yeah, it does, and that's not to say it's bad. I still look on it just fondly. Now, Succession Contest very well could be the number one. I know you share this opinion as well, Kaige, that it's it might as well be, but
yeah,
a lot of people share this opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty much the answer every time we ask this.
Like, it's Chimera Ant, but
yeah. I mean, because like it's just one of those arcs, right? Where like depending on how this wraps up, it could very well be the greatest arc in the series. It's just a matter of how much more do we have to see at this point, because there's a lot to go through still, so it's a little uncertain. But everything we've seen so far, oh man.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely probably less familiar with the manga than like you are, Kaige, but I don't know if it's like specific to the manga. Like I would be used to this, but it's just so ridiculously verbose and like everything is viewed at such a molecular level, and it's just so rewarding for how deep you go into it. And I'm sure you guys know that firsthand, literally making a podcast covering the chapters as they come out, but it's just crazy. I've never read anything else like that, which is probably speaks more to what I've read, considering I pretty much just read manga and that's it. But I've never read anything that just has such deep world building that it is a truly rewarding experience if you give yourself to it. Yeah.
It's truly Togashi at his like maximum level, it feels like. So
yeah. Peak of his powers.
Yes.
So bonus question off the top of my head that Brayden's gonna absolutely love. Name all of the princes in the Succession contest right now.
Oh, okay. I don't think I can. Okay.
As
Benjamin.
many as you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Benjamin. Is her name like Camilla?
There you go. Yeah.
That's one.
Camilla. Shanglei.
Okay.
Srednich.
Going in order so far too. I like that.
Yeah, I respect it. This is where he's gonna flub.
Oh man, I really don't remember 5.
Doesn't have to be in order.
Okay. Fugetsu. Kacho. Tyson.
He's doing better than I thought.
Saleh.
Like,
Loserus. Oh my gosh, who are the little kids? Oh, this is killing me. How do I not remember? Hulkenberg, of course, obviously.
Okay, he's at 10.
So how many?
Yep,
10?
10.
Okay, so I'm missing 3. Oh my god, what is that little dude's name?
Oh, you're missing 4.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's like, the pressure's
Googling in the background right now as he's thinking, quote unquote.
I'm forgetting like some really embarrassing ones too.
Yeah, you're missing the one that Karapika's guarding.
What? Okay.
You're gonna kick yourself if you don't get that one.
What's it start with? Can I get that?
The hell? No. That's insane.
Not for that one.
Little
no.
baby.
Wow.
This is our friend, guys.
This is something else, guys.
I can't believe I got all those freaks, but I'm forgetting.
I'm embarrassed for you, man.
I don't forget. Who are the other 2 that I'm forgetting as well?
The other 3. 14.
Tubepa.
There you go.
Okay. There we go. Missing 3
more.
now.
That's a freaky name, so of course I remember that one. Is the next one like lower? Like, is it past 10? Like, I know there's the 2 kids. There's the baby and the. Who's the one that got
I'll give you
smoked?
that all 3 that you have left are past 10.
Okay.
They're all lower ranked princes.
It's me. It's like starts with an M. One of them.
Okay.
Oh man, this is gonna kill me.
I'm gonna have to cut you off soon. Can't spend all day on this.
Remember, guys, this is all good fun, too.
That's one of them, right?
Mamacita. No.
Yeah. Oh.
5.
What is he? He's like
30.
poor little baby.
All right, that's it. You're done.
All right.
You were missing Mimose.
I would.
Yeah, so that was the one that you were about
kid. To. Yeah, that's the one that we've seen like twice.
Yeah.
Momose died.
Mimose
died. Who's the little kid that we never see?
Mariah.
Is there another little
Mariah.
kid?
Did we see him? It's been a minute, but
it's been a minute. But yeah. Mariah. And then, dude, Wobble.
You're.
Oh yeah.
That's bad, man. I cannot lie to you. That
I
awful.
was really impressed until I realized you could not name Wobble.
That's like. Do you want me to like cut this part out of the podcast?
Maybe. I'm doing like the whole like. Oh man.
Wow, that's bad. All right.
It would have been if I would have got Wobble, you guys would have been just pure impressed. So, Because I can't remember. I can't believe I remembered like Loser.
Yeah, I mean that's very impressive. But wow, did you undercut it by?
Objectively, I'm still impressed, but not getting Wobble is like equivalent to missing 5 princes. So like, I don't know.
He doesn't do anything.
But it's Wobble, dude. That's
anyways.
All right, moving on. We're done with that. Thanks for coming on, Brayden. We'll see you next year.
At least I'm invited back.
Remember, guys, though, this is all in good fun, so don't be too harsh on him in the comments.
No, you can be harsh.
Yeah,
all
you
right.
can be harsh.
So we got one piece of news, which is One Piece. What?
Yeah, One Piece.
So the wording of the tweet was odd. It says world premiere of Nen Impact at the EVO Awards this weekend.
Which we listed here in the document that we have is February 16th, but that's actually happening right now, the EVO Awards, as we were recording this. So we're going to get Nen Impact news of some kind during this award show. We just don't know when it's happening, and it hasn't happened yet. So there's a good chance that at some point in this episode we'll reveal the news live in the recording. So stick around if you're interested.
Hopefully it's the release date. That's what we're all hoping for, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what else they could show at this point, or announce.
Yeah.
Even. Unless it's like DLC, but
that'd be crazy.
That'd be ambitious.
So we'll see. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about that this episode if it happens, and if not, we'll talk about it next episode.
Yeah.
Might
still bring it up next episode in general, but
what
go ahead.
They? What are the EVO Awards?
It's so the EVO Awards, so fighting game tournament, EVO, right? It's an award ceremony for like, a lot of FGC moments throughout the year. So like best pop off, best tournament set, best rivalry, things like that.
They just started it this year.
They just started it, and they're backing it up with like there's a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournament that happened alongside it, and then a bunch of game announcements relating to fighting games. Nen Impact being one.
Okay. It's kind of a bizarre idea for an event, I feel like, especially like one that would get like, you know what I mean, like support of like, I mean, the fact that they're doing game announcements, like it's just interesting to me. I assumed you were gonna say it's like the Game Awards, but just for fighting games or something. Like, which I know it kind of is, but I expected it to be for the actual games less than.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense to me. The fighting game community is just, it's just that it's a community, full of.
For sure.
It's very social in that regard. So I could see an award ceremony working for it. I haven't been tuning in too much, but I have it up right now just in case that Impact comes on.
All right, let's get into the main topic. You guys ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Yeah, that's all there is. Nothing else.
Yeah, there's no more.
Togashi tweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's talk about Level E.
Let's do it. All right, and welcome to our discussion on Level E. So, this we all read this throughout the week. Dylan did his homework the night before it was due, of course, or the day it was due. Actually,
just like in high school, and I'm still getting an A+.
So the way we're going to be talking about this is we're just going to go like kind of free form style, because if I were to write a plot summary about this series, I would be talking all day, and it would not be a fun podcast, especially one that has a guest on it.
And that will make more sense as we get through this discussion too.
Yeah, well, hopefully you read the thing if you're here, because this will be a little weird to listen to if you didn't read it, because, I mean, we're not going to be recapping anything, really. We're going to give you we're giving you nothing, really. So, we're going to talk about things, I have like a very basic plot synopsis at the beginning here, and then we just kind of go through. So this, I guess I should say right off the bat, this is This is an anthology series, kind of. It's like an unorthodox anthology series. I've never seen one formatted in such a way, but
ambitious is what I would label it as. It's very different.
It is, yeah. There's several reoccurring characters. Most of them come back at totally random moments, and then there's like a solid core cast of. We have the prince and his guards that are always around. for the most part. So, yeah, I'll kick it off by just saying this is a series where Earth has been populated by thousands of aliens from all over the galaxy. While all the other aliens are unaware of their presence, it is a secret.
Aware. You said unaware.
Oh,
they are
oops.
aware.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, they are aware. It is a secret only to the Earthlings. So there's a bunch of aliens on Earth, but people on Earth have absolutely no idea about this. Baka OG, real name Baka Ki El Dogra. And by the way, I want to come off hot the presses and say I don't like this translation.
Dude, it is like. Do you imagine like a stereotype in your head about how like scanlations are? It's like the exact image you conjure in your head when you think about scanlations.
In its defense, I don't. To be fair, the weird part is I don't know if there's multiple scanlations, and I don't know what we've all read.
Yeah,
but
we're
I
going
found
off
it
of
to be
Manga
inconsistent. The like Power Rangers riff arc. I know we're gonna get more into like arc by arc breakdown. That one had a really rough one. Really rough patch.
Rough. Yeah.
I know we kind of shared some jokes about a certain scene in that one.
Oh,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I didn't even discuss that with you guys. So
yeah,
they took some liberties. And yeah, this, like Dylan said, this is just like classic fan translation shit. I am very adverse to fan translations. If you guys know me at all, that is something you will know about me. I avoid them at all costs. I respect the craft. There are fan translations that I read. I read JoJo fan translations. I read Vinland Saga fan translations. But this is one that I don't really respect all that much. And as far as I can tell, this is the best version of this we have. Because Viz has not picked this up, unfortunately. Which is a shame.
Mm-hmm. It just seems so obvious to me. I can imagine them doing it like in ensuing years. But I really don't know why they haven't. It just is obvious. Hey, a new series or old series by Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho guy. Boom. I mean,
they could even combine it into one omnibus. It's 3 volumes.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
Yeah, that's that's my gripe. So like the whole time I was reading this, I was like fighting back against my own like I hate reading this. So that was my mind this whole time. It sucks. It definitely did impact my reading experience. This is why I usually just go for official translations, but not an option here, and I wanted to read it, and it's not looking like this will ever be available officially. So that's what we got. I'm not trying to put shade on the translator. He did a great job. I don't want to name him because I don't know. It's not like we have a fan base big enough to like incite harassment or anything, but I definitely do have some strong words to say about this translation. But there were great moments. I'm not like he did a good job on a lot of parts, but there are some very standout moments that were not very good. We can call them dated, I guess. But
they're very.
I think
vulgar.
I'm softer on it. Of course, it's obscene and vulgar, like as is the stereotype for scanlations. But there were times there were some really complicated concepts and ideas that were handled pretty gracefully.
Yeah,
I thought, especially towards the beginning, it was front loaded. Towards the end, there were some more moments that I enjoyed. I think the roughness of the whole Power Rangers type thing can kind of be attributed to they were clearly supposed to be vulgar kids. I feel just their attitude and everything.
That was the intention.
Yeah, not that they should have said those things. Yeah, absolutely not at all.
I think they took it a little too far up a few notches with how vulgar they wanted to portray them.
Again, we'll get into it. We're at the very beginning of this, but
let's
get through this.
Getting ahead of ourselves a bit.
Yeah, but credit where credit's due. There are good moments that were handled with grace, but there are very bad moments too. Anyways. The prince, OG, Baka OG, Baka El Kiel Dogra, whatever. He's the prince of the planet Dogra, or Dogra. I think it's Dogra, but I'm not sure. He crash lands on Earth and loses his memory. He forcibly moves in with Yukitaka Tsutsui. This is the first story. This is the whole inciting event. He's a first-year high school student who had just moved out on his own. The normal life he once knew is quickly pulled away as he becomes the target of the prince's torment. So, basically, this whole series can be dumbed down to this alien prince is like bored and he just kind of does shit. Like he just kind of
he is a harbinger of chaos.
Yeah, he just brings chaos wherever he goes, and people have to deal with his shenanigans. So we have essentially 8 little stories, kind of. It sort of picks up. Yeah, it's like we'll pick up again with other characters along the way too, but I've separated it into 8 different things. First of which being chapters 1 through 3, which is just him in Yukitaka's apartment, and shenanigans ensue. So we'll kind of break it down and talk about each one of these individually. So let's I'll go around the room. Let's start. Brayden, why don't you kick us off? Tell us, what do you think about this story here?
This first one?
Yeah, the first story here about
him. First 3 chapters.
Well, I was under the impression that these would be the protagonist for the entire series.
Me too.
So
we all thought that.
That kind of skewed my view of it. Let me see. I did scribble some little notes on here. Let me see if I have anything pertinent to that arc. The first thing was I was struck by the art, which is definitely more mature. Like it's like something ripped off one of those more like realism inspired like Hunter x Hunter volume covers. But it's the whole series looks like that.
Not all the time. No, I wouldn't say all the time, but
I'd say like consistently.
Consistently through these first few chapters, I would say absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one thing is also, by the way, about the scans we read, they get better, like quality-wise, as it goes. These first couple chapters looked really rough, but it got a lot more high-res as it went on, which was nice.
I can agree to that. Yeah.
I was also like immediately like, oh, this is definitely some Togashi stuff. Dude loves like hidden societies and like an unknown world with infinite potential. And I also thought that it was like immediately like it drew me in. It's just such like a basic like interesting concept. Like, what if you moved in somewhere and there was an alien there? What would you do?
Yeah.
Very like E.T. vibes. I think there was even like a little scene that like he's like doing the little finger thing.
I think so.
Oh, yeah, I think that was in the first chapter, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, like, I don't know. These first few chapters, you could clearly tell it's Togashi's work just from the amount of like subtle world building. He's trying to poke in literally everywhere. Like, that's the classic, right? And it's very present here, even in these first few chapters. And it gets even more insane as the series goes on, even with the other stories. But yeah, I guess for my own thoughts though in these first few chapters, I thought it was a really strong start personally. I really enjoyed the character dynamics, especially with what they set up with OG and what's his name, Satsui,
Yukitaka
or Yukitaka, whatever you want to call him. Not that it really matters that much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like I really enjoyed the dynamic that was being set up there, and yeah, I really thought that it would be like, okay, this is like our main ensemble. This is what these 16 chapters will revolve around, and I was proven wrong very quickly, obviously. But
yes, they do come back. Him and Miho do come back. Miho is the girl that also lives in the same apartment complex, and she gets involved because she kind of like figures out that he's an alien. And shenanigans ensue. It's really fun. Yeah, I really do like these introduction chapters quite a bit. It's a fun cast. We also meet the bodyguards here, which we should definitely mention real quick. We have Captain Kraft, who's definitely the most memorable one.
I love Kraft. that might be my favorite character.
I love Kraft as well. Obviously this means nothing to you two, but his design is ripped directly from Yu Yu Hakusho. He looks I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was not exactly a minor character, but he was a major character during the Dark Tournament arc. He was like the guy who was funding the Toguro team, I believe. Anyways, there's him, there's Colin, and Sado. Those are the Royal Guard team. Not to be confused with the Hunter x Hunter Royal Guards. They're very different.
Yeah, very, very different people.
But yeah, that's like our core cast for this first story, and they also, the guards and obviously OG, all carry into later stories as well. Most of the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and it was a really strong start, and I just liked the overall like story they told with like the other alien race also, just kind of like, like almost setting war on on OG and the guard, right? And then it turns out they were just baseball fans the entire time. I thought that was a really like funny like conclusion to that.
Yeah.
It took a weird that comedic turn. I think is something I didn't expect from this setup. But it wasn't like a bad thing also, because like it was just like a fun read, and that's if something is fun to read, I think that's really all that matters at the end of it. But still having that classic Togashi like world building kind of sprinkled throughout. I don't know, it's a really weird blend, but I really enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, also definitely worth mentioning that the series is mostly a comedy. Definitely has other moments of other genres, but mostly it's comedic. I want to say before we move on to the next one, my favorite moment in this story was about like whenever OG was talking about his like shape-shifting pet, but Yukitaka interpreted as him telling him like about his own like true form, and he got like emotional about it. He was like, "Oh wow, that's so great that he's opening up about himself like this."
And I like that specifically because I, as the reader, also had that interpretation at first. Like it was just real. Maybe that's more so credit to the actual scanlation part of it, but like I don't know. That was really funny to me. I was like, oh wait, I got tricked too.
Yeah, that was very funny.
The craziest part of that first story was that like giant yapathon that was like 2 pages long.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
That was awesome,
that was insane.
though. That's just classic Togashi.
And that happens a few different times throughout this series too, where it's just like you don't expect like a yapathon to happen, and then it's like, oh, we found this document, and you turn the page, and it's like the most text Togashi has ever written in his life.
There was like, one later on where, and I don't know if this was the scan later, if Togashi actually wrote it. I hope it was actually Togashi, but it said like, you do not have to read this in parentheses below.
I remember that.
I thought that was very funny. It seems like something Togashi would do, so I think that was probably him, but I don't know for sure. So the second story is chapters 4 through 5. This is the one where kids witness. It's obviously we're changing casts again. I didn't write down any of these guys' names because these ones actually never come back. But it's like a group of kids in class, and they're
on like a camping trip.
Yeah, and they stumble upon this scene in the woods of or in a building in the woods of an alien eating somebody. And the rest of the story is about them finding out who did it. Obviously, they don't know it's an alien at first.
And I guess I'll start off with the discussion on this.
Start off this one.
I think this is probably one of the weaker stories of the series for me.
Yeah.
Not that it was bad necessarily. I still found some enjoyment of it, like especially towards the end. But I think it didn't help that like coming off of those first few chapters, it was like a complete tonal shift almost. Like it suddenly strayed away from a lot of the comedic elements, which was greatly supported by the cast that those first 3 chapters introduced, right? And I don't know, it kind of pivoted into a cast that I didn't really click with as much. And then it just felt, I don't know, it didn't drag necessarily, but it felt like there wasn't a lot of substance until like the very end when like all of a sudden like some like, deep messaging was tried to be like introduced as like a payoff to the story it was telling. I don't know. It just didn't vibe with me all that much, but I still respect it for what it was trying to do, and I still think it was a neat it was neat to read from a presentation perspective.
Yeah, it did. It had a cool like because the thing I remember the most about it, I think most vividly, is the opening scene where it shows the eating happening. That was really cool and kind of creepy.
That was cool.
I liked that quite a bit, and then it kind of, it goes in a direction I wasn't super happy with. It was, I don't know, it's kind of boring, this one, to be honest.
I mean, the vast majority of it is just like them trying to figure out who did it, and it's just a lot of like, admittedly boring dialogue, and not a lot of movement and stuff happening, and like, there wasn't a lot to really like chew on, I think, like substance wise. But like that opening was really good, and like I think it was especially good with like, like you see the like the alien eating the human, right? And it's like, oh my god, this is like weird. Like you feel a little tensed up reading, and you turn the page, and it just keeps going, and it's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like, okay, like it was really cool, and then it just got boring after that.
Yeah,
until, like the very end. It was so weird.
Yeah, and it didn't really end too well either. It kind of ended pretty abruptly, if you ask me. Like, it didn't wrap up as satisfyingly as other ones do.
I think an extra chapter. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was expecting what was happening in the next chapter to somehow lead into this story. Like it was like a continuation of.
Yes.
Yeah, or I thought this would be abrupt. Picked up again later or something, but no, this one really. This is a true one-off. There's really nothing else from this that comes back around, at least in a big way.
And I think that's telling maybe for how Togashi or even Shonen Jump may have seen this specific section as well. Like, I don't know. I feel like it clearly didn't hit as well as those first couple chapters.
Yeah, easily the weakest part. Pretty unremarkable. Well, I won't say the weakest, but this is one of the weakest. I actually do have a very clear least favorite that we'll talk about.
Yes, I think we might have the same one too, but we'll see.
Probably.
I'm curious. I think, yeah, I guess that'll get brought up later. I do think, though, this one highlights one of Togashi's strengths, which is how well he handles tonal shifts. Because you're like you guys were saying, you were immediately just like terrified by those kids watching that. Really easy to put yourself in their shoes, and the whole like dilemma of like, well, we can't like tell anyone we saw an alien eat someone. Like,
yeah,
I thought that was pretty compelling. But when it
evolves
into like kind of almost like politics for that world,
kind
like,
of.
Oh, yeah, this is how it works, you know.
Even when they met the cool like research guy, it's like, I don't know, like I didn't vibe with him either. Really, it wasn't really entertaining. Like, I don't know. I see what he was going with it, but like I just feel like that a story like that definitely needed like if you're gonna tell like an investigative story, those characters really have to like be entertaining to just read and just like read their dialogue and whatnot, right? And it just wasn't there. I don't know. The vibes were off.
Yeah, I feel like the intent was probably to do some groundwork and kind of like establish the world a little bit more with this story, but it just wasn't entertaining.
Mm-hmm. It was just a lot of yapping and not really the good kind.
Yeah. So I guess my turn then. I'll kick off the discussion of this next one. This is chapters 6 through 9, and this was the Color Rangers, which I'll just say right off the bat, this was my favorite. What do you guys think?
Me too. Me too.
You too? Okay. Not Dylan though, clearly.
I mean, it's definitely up there. I don't know. I'm not confident in saying that it's my favorite, but like I'm not confident in saying it's my absolute favorite. It's what I should say. But it's definitely some of the most memorable chapters of this series. I can agree with that.
So there is a lot of like prototype Hunter x Hunter concepts in this one. Namely Greed Island.
That one kid that looks very suspiciously like Gon.
Shimizu Yoshiki, who is the main one, I would say. Technically, like, the Red Ranger is the main guy, but it felt he was the main one, I would argue, on
for a
paper.
bit.
Yeah.
But
he's definitely the most memorable one, but that's probably because he looks like Gon a lot.
It is beta Gon. Like, that is kind of how I saw that character immediately.
It's just different.
Even though he acts nothing like him. He acts nothing like Gon.
No. Not at all.
He is the most, like, vulgar kid of all time. But
yeah.
But I don't know. Appearance-wise, you could tell, like, Gon was definitely at least somewhat inspired by him.
Yeah, so, this follows a group of 5 kids who are unwillingly put in this game by OG. They get these suits, which my favorite part about this is like the very early moments where they are just like, I do not want to do this shit at all, but they're thrusted into it, and they just kind of reluctantly go along with it for a while.
It's you're immediately greeted by just like, this is like they're trying to set up like a Power Rangers moment, and like, these kids, instead of the kids being like, let's go fight and save the world, these kids are like, no, why are we here? Like,
I am not doing this, except
I'm gonna be late for class.
Akagawa is the one who gets really into it. He's the Red Ranger. He's the only one that really cares, and it's really funny. I love the dynamic of these kids.
He didn't even
He's
have the highest
grinding
level,
levels, bro.
He didn't even have the highest level by the end of it, though.
No, it was what's his name? Mayuzumi, which was the little black-haired kid. Yeah, he ended up having the highest level for some reason.
Well, because he grinded in his bedroom in secret the entire time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So to do a plot summary of this one would be insane because this is the longest story and there's so many winding paths that this one takes. But basically, they get put in this game that Baka Oji literally creates an RPG maker, which was funny. And they go into. I mean, it doesn't start in the game. That's like, I think that's maybe the second or third chapter of the story that they go into the game.
Yeah, they're on Earth for the first chapter or two.
Yeah, just kind of learning the about the suits, and then they go into the game, and they end up having to fight the Dark Lord or whatever. But Oji forgot to program the goal of the Dark Lord, so it ends up like kind of developing a conscious and like its own personality, and it just kind of nothing ends up happening with it. They don't fight or anything. The Dark Lord just kind of goes off on its own. And the kids launch Oji into space. Yeah,
after Oji told them how to do like the ultimate move that'll beat anybody.
The ultimate spell. They'd use it on him. It has a very sweet ending. Like the kids are like, "Oh yeah, we'll come visit you, the Dark Lord," and you know, it's a nice little thing. I thought it was really cute.
Yeah, this was entertaining. It was very entertaining.
I like the little bit where he's like, well, what's like the range for using the thing? He's like, oh, well, you know, if I'm in my bedroom and I'm this close to the dining room or whatever. And he's like, no, like in terms that I can understand.
Yeah.
The whole like level system was just really funny in general. Like just like riffing, just it was the most random like, you know, mix match of just like, you know, whatever like references or just like random stuff he could put together. But it was so entertaining, like the whole like, oh, level 2 you get the Pokari sweat upgrade or whatever. I don't know, little things like that. It's just like, it's so unserious, but there's a lot of humor to be found in that.
Yeah, tonally this was so good. I loved how these kids just did not want to do this shit at all, and Oji was just such a like. I mean, this is peak Oji. Also, I will say this is like him at his best. Yeah. He's just trying to do this thing, but nobody wants to do it, and everybody hates him for it.
Oh, another underrated, or maybe not underrated, but like another favorite part of the story for me was also towards the beginning where they were trying to get like the key from Kraft to take off their bracelets.
Oh
that gave
my
them the
god,
powers.
yes.
And Kraft was like, you know, told by Oji to like, you know, protect the key with his life or whatever, but he's just like faking the dialogue because you can hear it on him, and he's typing on the computer telling him, hey, just play along.
Yeah.
You'll get the key.
And then eventually he's like, all right, never mind, screw this. I'm just going to help these guys. And he's like, Oji, if you're listening, I am actively helping these kids from this point on.
Because I hate you so much. Kraft and Oji's dynamic is just like by far the most like the funniest part of this entire
it's
thing.
It's so fun.
I love it.
I loved Kraft a lot. He just hated his job.
Yeah. Did not want this guy to be king.
No.
But you know, yeah, it was just a very fun story. I really enjoyed reading the entirety of it.
Yes, and this won't be the end of the Color Rangers either. We'll talk about them again in a bit. But yeah, I loved them all. That was so much fun with this one. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything else to say about it in particular, Brayden?
No, I mean, I really like Power Rangers as a kid. Love RPGs as an adult, so this was really hitting for me. And I think it's obviously just the most well-written part of it as well. Yeah,
just super fun. And yeah, a lot of like, definitely like, sort of Dark Continent-esque scenery in that RPG world, which was interesting.
Especially when they first got there. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Nasty old monsters and such.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, super cool. So next one is an interesting one that I also really enjoyed. And we'll circle back around. Brayden, you can kick us off with this one. But this is chapters 10 to 11, which is Prince Saki comes to Earth looking for a husband. This is a thing that their species does. The queen or princess, whatever, I guess, has to find a mate and then when she does, it causes a disease to spread throughout the entire race of whatever race she marries into, and it kills off the entire race. In this case, obviously, since she's on Earth, she's looking for a human male to marry. What did you think of this one, Brayden?
Kind of keeping in with the prototype Hunter x Hunter concepts. This was giving very much Chimera Ant at the beginning with the whole trying to reproduce, that kind of thing. Even down to the queen's look. I mean, it's the queen, that kind of thing.
Yep.
I know that kind of playing with gender is a really big part of Togashi's interest, as a writer. But this is probably the most explicitly queer thing that I've read that he's had his hands on. I don't know if anything happens in Yu Yu Hakusho or whatnot, but
a little bit.
I mean, very explicitly talking about a sex change, and I don't know. I just found it really interesting and honestly pretty bold. Not that gender bending isn't a common trope in anime and manga, but I thought it was surprisingly pretty progressive. These characters talk about this in such a neutral way.
It was surprisingly more tact than I was expecting it to be. Whenever I first saw the concept, I'm like, oh gosh, how is this gonna go? But
I was pleased though. It was really nice actually. The thing that differentiates this from being a gender bender type of thing is the way they talk about it. I think because
for sure
the thing that stood out to me the most is just the way that they're well, this person might just be a guy, which is cool.
Yes.
It wasn't they want to be a guy or whatever. It's this person might just be a guy. They just don't look like one. I think it was just a really cool and surprising view on it that I wasn't expecting. I mean, it's very clear that Togashi is very interested in the concept of gender. I mean, if you read anything he's done, that is very apparent. But this is actually him tackling it directly, which I've never seen before. And he did it really well, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's the key of why that surprised me as much as it did, because it was very direct. You see something like Chimera Ant and kind of how that plays around with gender, right? It's very just not in your face. It's kind of just thrown out there as a fact, and that's that, right? But I'm just using that as an example, right? But yeah, for this story, it was very directly the point of the plot, right? And presented as such. But it was handled really, really well.
Yeah. Just kind of generally talk about what exactly happened with it. It's this at the time, a girl named Miki Hisa, who it's love at first sight with the princess. They both feel this mutual love for each other. But Princess Saki thinks that this is going to be weird to talk about. I'll just say he, him pronouns for the future, because I mean, that is what he is. But Prince Saki thinks that he is a guy, biologically, but he is a woman. And it's Kraft, right? Kraft and the other gang that are with them.
They're involved. They're trying to escort, or they're trying to trick the princess into not finding a human mate so that they could save the world, essentially.
Yeah, they're making the human race out to seem like awful, terrible things. So they
really entertaining, by the way. I thought it was
fun. That was really good stuff. But they catch on to the idea that, oh, you know what, she might be a he, and they help him transition, actually, which is really cool.
So it was the princess that did that. That's worth knowing.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Because they didn't realize it until it was too late, when they realized, the princess handed him a note, and they went off to meet each other, and that's when the princess, because of alien capabilities, right, helped kind of fix the chromosomes in his body or whatever. Helped him transition, and then from that point, the guard had the wild plan of okay, we're gonna create a clone of this guy. We're gonna have him have all the memories, and then we're gonna have that clone marry the princess, so that actual humans, and they implanted the virus in him, so that fights off the virus from the princess.
Yeah,
it sounds insanely convoluted, but it was actually such a good payoff. I found it really amusing.
And I guess they live happily ever after.
Yeah. They made a big deal about how like that was like the worst option to choose because like they had to like kidnap like the actual guy and like, hold him hostage essentially.
Yeah.
While that happened, but it was fun. It was fun.
I like that it kind of highlighted like the irony of in this crazy alien world that they're so stuck on like binary ideas of sex and gender. That's a good point. Like they're literally just like, yeah, we'll just like, I don't know, beep boop beep boop, change some genes. Yeah. And then he's a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool.
Good point.
Yeah, I really like how that was handled. It's not like absolutely perfect or anything, but it was pretty damn good.
No. Yeah.
I think, especially for the time. I mean, this was,
considering the time that it was written, I think it's very impressive.
Yeah. So the next one, Dylan, you'll kick us off. Okay, I can tell by this is the worst one.
This is the worst one.
Yes, this was.
Yep.
I did not.
This was
like this one.
This was a nothing burger story.
Yeah, this is chapters 12 to 13. Real quick, I'll just say, and this was the baseball one. That's about all I can say about it. Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, so we actually go back to Yukitaka for this story, although not really. This is kind of focused on his baseball team as a whole, and essentially the premise of this one is that they are on their way to like a regional game essentially for their baseball team, and all of a sudden they get warped into the stadium they were going to play in, but nobody is there, and like obviously it's weird. Something supernatural has happened. And also OG kind of tagged along on the bus. That was kind of funny, I guess. But essentially, they realized that they got teleported somewhere in a supernatural way, and they're trying to figure out who was the cause of it, because the working theory throughout the entire story is that one's stress and or just like thinking about the game in general, being nervous about it, is what triggers a supernatural ability within somebody to teleport into somebody's subconsciousness. And that's a big talking point about how like what you think is supernatural is actually like one normal human person's work. Like they reference a specific story to tie that all in. This was just boring. That nothing cool happened. There was not a lot of funny moments, even with OG being there, which was shocking.
Yeah, OG was pretty subdued in this.
And then the ending of this story was kind of ass.
It sucked.
It sucked. There was not a lot of good to find in this. I don't know. It just was not an entertaining couple chapters.
Yeah, this was boring with a capital B. I was like falling asleep reading this one. I did not like this one.
I read this I was reading this last bunch of chapters this morning, and I was like hung over in like 10 minutes after I woke up. No. I like rolled out of bed and started reading this. I was like, bro, like
that's a bad one to start the session with. Yeah, that's
literally.
But yeah, Yukitaka did like nothing either until like there's a very specific few pages where he's interacting with OG, and like obviously that dynamic is fun, right?
It is very fun. Yeah, I like their scenes together.
But that's it. None of the other characters are entertaining, really. None of them are interesting in their own ways. I get what he was going for with writing about like the premise of like the supernatural, but it just didn't hit. There wasn't really like a hook for it. I think maybe this might be a case where he kind of maybe got too caught up in the world building aspect of a premise like this.
Yeah.
And I think the presentation kind of suffered as a result.
Yeah. This was very raw Togashi. He was kind of just unrestricted here. This whole thing is that, absolutely. I wouldn't even... I don't know the story about this series, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have any editors with this one.
Yeah.
But this one was like, all right, he might have needed an editor here to reel him back a little.
An editor would have reeled him back here for sure. Like... you gotta add something like entertaining.
There was just nothing to latch onto except OG and Yukitaka. Like I love like the moment where Yukitaka's like, "Oh shit, this guy again. Come on now." That's funny.
Yeah.
But beyond that, no, man, I was sleeping.
Yeah.
There's only so much you could do in like an empty baseball stadium. Like,
yes.
I don't know, man. Nothing is happening there. Like that. I don't know.
I'll be curious to hear if any of the comments later talked about this story in particular. Because that was. Go ahead, Brayden.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel kind of the same way about this one that I do the like them witnessing the alien eating someone's story, and that like I'm kind of both ways with it. I'm like, if he got to kind of like spin his wheels a little more, maybe he would have like got to the core of this story. But then on the other hand, it's like that's what's making it boring. Is it's just kind of digging into nothing. Like I think the idea of them going into like this like psychic world is obviously ripe with potential, but I don't know if it's the specific example here of it being a baseball team or just how it resolved, but like obviously something wasn't working.
Yeah.
It was boring.
Yeah, it's also like this could have been something like bigger, but it just wasn't. Like it didn't.
So
okay.
the key difference to me, I think, is that one, like the whole like, you know, alien eating a human story, that had a much stronger hook. And say what you will like about the ending being like underwhelming or whatever, but like at least there was a point to it, right? There was some messaging there about how like, you know, being rid with guilt, you know, you're doing something bad, you know, something along those lines, right? But this story, there was no hook. I feel like it was just kind of boring, and the ending made no sense at all. Like I feel like I didn't even get a conclusive ending. I left reading that last chapter asking myself what happened. Like,
yeah,
I was so confused.
I was just like, what? Like
it was so abrupt. It didn't make any sense upon the initial read. I think you know something was bad when you have to reread it multiple times to even get like a hint of like what just occurred here. Like
yeah,
it was so inconclusive, and like I don't know. It was just shit. I'm sorry. That was the worst part of this series.
Yeah, that was really bad in my opinion. That was the worst part, easily. All right, we done talking about that one?
Yeah.
I got nothing to say.
All right. Okay, I get to kick off the next one. I keep getting the Color Rangers. That's nice. So yeah, this is chapter 14. It's just a one chapter thing. This was another one of my favorites. This was the Color Rangers save a mermaid and fight Serednich. It is a guy that looks exactly to a T like Serednich.
It's really funny.
But yeah, this is like it's also about another like sub theme is that Shimizu, the Gon lookalike, is he's about to move, and he's trying to act all tough, but his friends. Well, one of them's mad about it. The one that looks like a 40-year-old man is really upset about it.
The fat kid.
Yokota.
That was one of my favorite of the kids. Was the little that looks
he
like
was
he's even got the little like pencil set.
Yeah. Very cute. This was a really sweet one to me, and it ends. The ending is so nice too. Just the mermaid getting to go back with the other mermaids, and even though like her tail's split, they welcome her like and. The moment, it's just a subtle little moment that I love so much, is at the end where she comes back, she has that split tail, and then the other mermaids are just like, oh, you have a split tail? That's so neat. And then they just carry on. I don't know, it's just such a sweet little moment.
This chapter is my favorite in the entire series.
Great pick.
Oh,
I
nice,
love that.
nice.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say 69 because it was kind of like connected, you know, and like I understand it, and it's definitely entertaining all around. I think if there is a specific chapter I had to pick that like latched me, that caught my attention immediately, kept my attention the entire time, I was locked in and invested, it was this chapter. Everything about it was really, really good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. From front to back, I just loved this one. There's really no dull moments. It's just, this is the most perfect chapter, I think, in this series.
Great development for our little Color Rangers, and just a nice little like plot, and plot idea in general with the mermaid and kind of like the poachers, right? And just kind of like you really sympathize for the mermaid, and you really hate the Serednich and his goons, right? I don't know. It was a really short story. It's only one chapter for this.
Yeah.
But I think it's so effective at conveying its messaging, the presentation of it all, just the feel-good ending too, and just like how like sweet that is. It hit all the right notes, I think.
It's about like acceptance, I think. And And another little sweet little moment, like at the beginning, is like whenever they first find her in the woods, and like she reveals that she's an alien, and she's expecting like a big reaction, but they're like, "Oh no, like we have a teacher that's an alien. This is totally normal."
We forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's an alien teacher.
That was an assassin but cares about children.
Yeah, that was another little moment that I also loved. Yeah, I just really, again, the color rangers that's peak. Like that's everything with them is just so good and sweet. I love it and funny.
If you're gonna choose specific chapters to read at level E, it'd be the Color Rangers ones. Yes, for sure.
100%.
My favorite part was like the end where it's like the plots are connected, and like the Serenish guy they killed. He's like the Gon kid's parents are like, actually, like a higher up got killed, so now we get to stay in Japan.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
This is a nice little bow on everything. I know. Great example of just like a one chapter one. I honestly wish we got more of those. Like I feel like the murder witness and even the baseball one would have probably just worked really well as a one chapter one.
Yeah, the baseball one would have been better as a one chapter. Well, okay, here's the thing.
Assuming Togashi got reined in. Assuming Togashi got reined in on his world building. Because I think it dragged it down a lot in that instance.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We talked enough about the baseball one. But, yeah, I think we all love Chapter 14. That was a highlight for sure.
Yeah, it was great.
Absolutely. Also, just really good like paneling and imagery of this one in particular. It really stood out to me. Like,
absolutely.
The mermaid tongue stabbing the guy through the head.
Yeah.
Really memorable one.
Cool.
I love the panel sequencing of like the mermaid finding out that like her four like sisters were all killed by the poachers, and then you just like you see like suddenly just picking up the gun and then just like bang bang bang, and that was it. You knew what happened. Didn't need to be shown. And then just like the really like shadowy image of like splash in the water from a cliff. So like you know what happened to the bodies then. It's just, I don't know, really good work all around. Again, I can't really say enough good things about this chapter.
And the ending to that one really will stick with me for a while. I really loved it.
For sure. You could almost draw like some parallels to like the whole thing with Kurapika and the Kurta clan. Like I know it's not like the one, but
absolutely,
dude loves revenge. That's a big fixation at Togashi's.
The mermaid saying like I'm all alone now, and then you just see the Color Rangers like no, we consider you a friend now. It's fine. And then she finds people anyways. Even aside from that.
So good. I love it. Yeah. I definitely I think we're probably all interested in watching the anime at some point, and that's
for sure.
This in particular is definitely one I want to see animated. I really want to see their take on that.
I would be very excited to watch this episode.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it in the future at some point. I don't know when, but...
All right, so then there's the second to last, chapter 15 here. Brayden will kick us off with this one. This is the one where Oji's brother, Mohan, and his fiancée, Luna, come to Earth. What'd you think of this one, Brayden?
I thought it was okay. I to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one. You can just kind of feel the brakes being put down a little bit. It was nice to kind of focus more on Uji specifically, but I don't know. I thought it was okay.
This is an instance, I think, where more time would have been beneficial.
That was my thought exactly. Sure.
One extra chapter 2 would have done so much. But again, like Brayden said, I feel like at this point Togashi probably knew this series was ending. I don't know how or why it came to end. So
this was I will say I do know at least this was an intentionally short series. This had a set length. This wasn't canceled or anything.
Okay, so
I was curious about that.
So obviously Togashi decided, I'm wrapping up with this at this point. I think it's very clear from how this chapter was written. But I don't know. If he just stuck it out for another chapter or two, I think this would have been a really good story to tell. But it felt like they kind of sped through some parts. And then just some things were kind of underdeveloped, like, Mohan and Luna, specifically, I think were kind of...
Especially Mohan. There was nothing to grasp.
Why was he even there?
I don't really know. He didn't add
I like the whole bit of how they're like, people change a lot between 13 and 17. He's like, he must have just changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good.
They should have just
I don't
cut
know.
the baseball story and gave us 2 more chapters of this stuff.
Yes.
I think.
It would have been good, but alas.
Yeah, but it was serviceable, I guess. Like I didn't hate reading it or anything. It was just kind of whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and there was some entertaining parts. Again, you kind of see like I probably my favorite part about it was like the whole presentation of Kraft and how like he's finally on OG's side, but only because that means he won't be the king. In, like, 2 weeks.
That was good. Yeah,
I do like Luna too. She's fun.
Yes, although I feel like I liked Luna, and I in theory I really liked the idea of I was just pretending to be a Fae. This is a really convoluted plan of how she got to marry OG. But I feel like again that kind of got sped through towards the end of this chapter. I feel like a little bit more time to hang on. Yeah, I like double tricked you. Like you got double baited. Nice job, idiot.
Yeah, you got trolled.
Yeah, it would have been fun if it was hung on a little bit longer. But that's my only real complaint about Luna specifically. I thought she was done fine otherwise. But again, that kind of leans into more like just feels underbaked as a whole. There's a lot of potential here, but otherwise kind of
Yeah. And so interestingly, from what I understand about the anime ends there. They don't adapt the last chapter.
That's really odd. What?
It is. And speaking of, Dylan, you'll get to kick us off for this one. Chapter 16 is the end of the story. Writing a plot summary about it would be wild because it kind of goes all over the place. But kick us off. What'd you think?
So surprisingly or not surprisingly, depending on who you are, I guess, this is almost entirely focused on OG and his now wife, Luna. This is, I think, what was it, a 10-year time skip from the previous chapter? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what it was.
I think it's 10 years, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this is Togashi saying, okay, yeah, we're just ending this now. So time skip 10 years, and he's now on a honeymoon with his wife, leaving the kids with his parents or something. And the majority of the story revolves around them visiting, what we initially think is just like a different planet, with these, this very, like, it's like a group of thugs or like rebellions. I don't know exactly if they had a name.
It seems to be like a rebel group, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a mafia type thing.
Yeah, but they encounter these people and they kind of trick OG and they kidnap them essentially and they're trying to get money out of them, as I guess bandit like people will do. And the majority of the story is about how like there's this like group of insects that is actually like in the area, and they pose like this big threat supposedly, and the entire story revolves around OG and Luna trying to like escape these people. And overall, I think this was actually like a fine like ending for a chapter for how short the series was. It was entertaining for the most part all the way through, I think. More specifically, though, I really liked how it kind of capped off on that specific plot point with how like the bugs actually were just like harmless the entire time. And so OG kind of tricked everybody into killing themselves because they couldn't bear the idea of being like eaten and abducted by these insects that they thought were life-threatening. It was OG's character in a nutshell, this entire chapter, which I found really entertaining, and also the fact that this was entirely taking place within like Tokyo or like within Japan, like right outside of it. I don't know. It was on Earth, this entire thing that was happening, because OG was going to visit what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Yukitaka.
Yep, Yukitaka.
He was going to visit him. That was the entire point of this trip. So
yeah,
just a really nice little cap into that. And the chapter kind of ends as well with Yukitaka and his child now and his wife kind of being like, yeah, I wonder where he's at right now. And then that's about it. They end with the paragraph of how like in the next like few years, surely the Earthlings will know about the aliens.
Yeah, like a full circle thing, like alien, or the same sentence at the beginning, but this time it says like humans will know that aliens are among them.
Yeah, and then that's it. I thought it was serviceable for an ending.
I actually really enjoyed that chapter. I wasn't expecting that to be the ending, but I liked it. I thought it was a cool, and the bug stuff was actually really interestingly drawn. I thought it looked really cool.
It was that wacky ass designs for those insects.
Yeah.
It's funny that like it was painted as like this one species specifically, but I feel like he drew like 10 billion different species throughout those insects. That's just I don't know. Togashi had fun with it.
He did.
What were your thoughts though, Brayden?
It does kind of strike me as odd as an ending, and I think I just kind of assumed the series was canceled. Because of how odd of an ending it was, or like a weird choice for like a last chapter. Like obviously he would know even if it was canceled, this would be the last chapter, but it just feels so sudden of a place to end it. And I do think like with an anthology type series, you're naturally going to run into like difficulties like with a conclusion, especially one this short that just gets to try a few things. But I still liked it on the whole. It just smacks as weird as an ending, and it kind of makes sense to me why the anime would choose to end on the previous story.
Yeah,
I guess I just see like why not? Like that's my question.
Especially because the anime adaptation is
there.
actually like surprisingly long. Like it really surprised me to see that they didn't adapt that chapter. Like what's all that time being used for?
Yeah.
I'm curious. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good ending. I liked it quite a bit personally. I thought it was a really fun chapter.
Better than the baseball story, that's for sure.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So
I'll riff on that until the end of time.
Want to talk about just like the characters and stuff, but real quick, I want to mention to tie it back to Hunter x Hunter real quick. This blew my mind because this is something I've always been like, what the hell was this scene? And now that I know, it just like clicked into place. I was like, oh my god, this whole time that's what this was. So in Hunter x Hunter, in both the manga and the 2011 anime, there's this really random scene in Heaven's Arena where they're doing commentary on one of the matches. I don't remember which one exactly. And it cuts to the commentator booth, and suddenly there's this random guy in the booth with the commentator, and he says some line. I think it's the Hisoka and what's his name fight, the guy that can clone himself. And there's some like bullshit thing that happened in the fight, and then OG is in the booth, and he like explains how the thing that just happened, and then he goes away, and that's it. This for the longest time I was just like, what in the hell? Who is this? Why is this happening? But now that I know, I think that's actually hilarious that he's just here for a second and then he's gone.
That's so funny.
It's very OG, and
awesome.
I think it's hilarious. I love that it's in the anime too. They did not have to include that, but they did.
And it's just the fact that it's OG specifically, I think, that makes it hilarious.
So
it feels weirdly in character, even though it's a completely different series.
Yeah.
I can find some appreciation in that.
Yeah, if you want to check that out again, that is episode 36 of the anime and chapter 62 of the manga. You can see that little moment of OG coming back.
So fun. Should have gotten the Kraft cameo too.
Yeah, well, he's in Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh yeah, fair point.
So yeah, I think at least for me and Dylan, our favorite character is pretty unanimous in Kraft. What about you, Brayden? Though, what do you think?
My favorite character.
Yeah, who'd you vibe with the most?
I mean, it's cheating to say OG.
OG's very fun.
Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly our second favorite, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's OG. I mean, I thought that would be you guys' number one regardless.
I love Kraft.
OG is so funny. I love his character, but there's something about Kraft's demeanor specifically towards OG. Like that when I think about those two's dynamic, I always like am looking forward to what Kraft has to say. And I think that's why I kind of gravitate towards him specifically. He's just entertaining.
I do also really like the teacher that, used to be an assassin. That's
the
pretty
alien
good.
teacher. Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah.
And I did like the, the guy in the love story, Mikihisa.
Yeah. I wanted to
really
say
endearing.
that was my gut reaction, but I think I like that character more as like an object of plot construction and detail,
like a
than
concept specifically.
Character.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was just really endearing too. I like.
Yeah. No, exactly. But I feel like that the placement in the story outweighed my love for the character as an actual
I
see.
character in the endearing sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
All the color rangers were amazing.
Well, okay, yeah. They were all pretty good, although I think the clear weaker one is Momochi.
Yeah, he didn't get a whole lot. He was just like, I think his whole thing is like he came from a rich family or something.
Okay, he had one really funny moment in that they had to like list their like crushes in order to get the bracelets.
Oh yeah,
he had like 50 of them.
Yeah,
and he couldn't,
I was laughing at that.
And he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't remember one of them. So he couldn't take
that
the
was
bracelet
great.
off.
I forgot about that.
That was good, but
straight to hell.
Yeah, that was good. That was a really funny moment, but that's like the only moment he got also. So.
Yeah, that was literally it. But yeah, a really solid cast of characters all around. I think the weakest cast was probably the baseball crew or the murder mystery crew. Those were pretty damn forgettable characters. I couldn't even really tell you a character trait of any people involved in that story, in either of those stories. I know there was the detective and the mystery one, and he was whatever. I mean, he's the most memorable part about it, I guess, but that's about it. Any like final thoughts to share from either of you about the Level E?
I think if you're a fan of Togashi's work, this is definitely worth checking out in some degree. Not all the stories are going to be your cup of tea or entertaining even, but I think it's a solid little like anthology showcase of just how Togashi's writing can be, you know?
Yes.
And there's a lot of cool stuff to pick up from it as well. I'd imagine whether you watch the anime or read the manga too. So, I think it's worth a shot if you're at all interested. You'll take away something from it, surely.
How about you, Bird?
I honestly thought it was fantastic other than like a weak spot or two. Definitely gonna watch the anime and like I just can't believe this hasn't gotten an American release. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that's so like I feel like there's other examples of this, but there's so many manga by like crazy influential and storied artists that just have no legal way to read them. Like it's actually crazy, especially with the presence that manga in general, but like especially Hunter x Hunter has now.
Yeah.
Come on. Why? What are we doing?
And
That's money to be made.
And Hunter x Hunter's now even getting the omnibus treatment by Viz. So like I don't know. Like it's relevant still, obviously. Like, you know, capitalize on that. You know, I don't know. It's weird to me too.
Yeah. Viz, release this, please.
Yeah. That's our plea.
But yeah, I really like this series a lot. I have a lot of positives to say about it. There's a few downer moments. The two stories, unfortunately, that makes up 4 chapters of this 16 chapter series. So it's a noticeable chunk.
Amount.
Yeah, of kind of mediocre to bad. With the baseball one, I will say I thought that was actually bad. Not afraid to admit it. But overall, I just had a great time with the series. This is just raw Togashi, and as somebody who's read, his other 2 long works, I thought it was really interesting and cool to see him do a shorter story with also like seemingly less restrictions. It was just, this is probably the most raw form of Togashi you can get. I always love when authors who do longer series kind of tackle something smaller, because it's a better look at their inside their mind. You can just see how the clock's ticking a little easier whenever it's shorter like this.
Yeah, especially in the case of like if you compare it to Hunter x Hunter, even obviously there's going to be some like presentation changes and things like that to kind of appeal more to the intended audiences, right? But like you said, Level E kind of feels more raw, like Togashi's core, almost like not necessarily like a passion project, but like it does feel like you're taking a deeper look into just his mind and how it works when writing, which is cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's at once like a work where he's completely inhibited and completely uninhibited. Like, there's the time structure of it. There's only like a set amount of chapters, but he can do whatever he wants. And I think that's especially interesting seeing Togashi because, dude luxuriates in time. He takes his sweet ass time with everything. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we I think we all really liked it. So I'm very pleased. I'm glad we took the time to read this, and I'm very curious to hear what all of you had to say about it. So are we ready to transition into that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. We have a lot to go through. So.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, now it's time to go into community comments, see what you guys have to say about Level E. As a usual reminder, if you want to get in on the action and just talking about whatever topic we have week to week, make sure you check out our community posts on the YouTube channel, as well as posts on Twitter and Bluesky accounts for call-out posts for whatever the topic is that week. And, of course, if you're an audio-only listener and you happen to know what topic we'll be covering next, you can always email us at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com. So, to start off with today's episode and today's section of the community comments, we'll start with the Twitter. There is one reply from Terror of Talos saying, "So I decided to reread this once I knew you guys were covering it, and my thoughts haven't really changed. This is an experimental yet entertaining and funny story about the value of different types of connections/relationships people can have, the obvious one being between aliens and humans. Togashi focusing on different alien species, alongside other perspectives having both positive and negative experiences with humanity, thematically ties most chapters together. The amount of detail and world building regarding their cultures is also something to be appreciated too. Overall, this is a nice break in between his two other longer-running series with good humor, interesting themes, fun character interactions, and even a lean towards an overall more realistic art style, though at times you can tell when his health issues were creeping up." Yeah, I think that last part specifically is something we didn't really touch on. I definitely noticed the shift in terms of I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but for me, that first story, chapters 1 through 3, very realistic art style throughout most of it in a lot of different panels, and then you go to the Color Rangers and it's almost classic Togashi art style, how you would envision it. So I thought that was really interesting.
I guess the way I saw it is that it was intentionally done that way, but
which is possible.
Yeah, it could be his health problems. You never really know with Togashi.
But otherwise, though, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just a really interesting series altogether. A different way of exploring themes and relationships compared to his other series.
Absolutely. Okay, so next comes from... Sorry, I scrolled down on the document. Next is from Mustachio. Yeah, Brayden has one of those. Who says, "I think it's a real shame it's not talked about because I absolutely see it as a manga on par with his other two long-running series. It shows what a genius Togashi is, both writing and art. Being published not in a weekly format must have been good, huh?" Oh yeah, it was not weekly.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
No.
That's cool.
Yeah, I forget what. I looked into this beforehand. I should have had that ready. But I'll
I think it's in Jump. Maybe it was just on an alternating schedule or something.
Yeah, it was Jump. I wonder how this was released. I'm not actually sure. Anyways, where was I? So I think it shows also a lot more of how much of a goofball, gamer, horror fan, and hater of the manga industry Togashi is. I think it gives a lot more hints of how he is as a person. Yeah, that's pretty much what I said. As much as you can in a non-autobiographical way. Also, a lot more unpredictable than usual Togashi, which is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Always recommend it, and I hope a reprint will come to my country because the old print is rising in price. I don't even know if there is an English print. I hope that comes too. Yeah, you're lucky to even have a print of it.
Yeah,
very jealous of that, actually.
That'd be something I'd love to own one day if they ever release it in English.
I'd buy it in a heartbeat.
And an official translation would be so interesting to read.
I would love to read an official translation. Also, my favorite chapters are the ones about the RPG and the ones about the boys running away and hiding from a menace. I can't say any more to not spoil. Which one is that referring to?
Is it the one where they eat the thing?
That's what it was.
Or the alien eats the.
Oh.
That was so vague. The alien eats the.
The one that was our second least favorite.
The one that eats the thing.
That's surprising. But yeah.
I could maybe. I think there might be a certain audience where that works better than it did for us. Just like the mystique of it, maybe. But
yeah, again, I would love to reread this with a official translation at some point. That could open my eyes a little more. Maybe that chapter reads better when it's not a fan translation. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Who's to say?
Brayden, you want to take the next one?
Of course. Coming straight to you from This Is Me 2014. Finally, let's go! Level E is so underrated outside Japan, especially English speaking. It does not have a Viz release, which is a shame. I'm in total agreement. Level E is Togashi's mind. That's pretty much it as
you can sum it up in one
but that's a good way
statement.
of putting it. It's very influential and popular in Japan. Recently, Oshinoko-ko's mangaka also posted that Level E was the manga that inspired them. That's interesting. I don't know Oshinoko, but that's interesting. I'm sure it does have more of a presence over there, of course.
That kind of surprises me from what I know about Oshinoko. Huh. That's interesting.
And Sensei Hakusho, manga that Togashi's assistant published about Togashi. I didn't know that existed. Said Togashi started Level E without even telling them.
There you go.
Shady. So first few
gosh.
chapters are done by Togashi alone, no assistant. That's kind of cool. Little project.
Yeah. I honestly
Togashi's
guessed the whole series would have been done without assistance, but
Yeah. Togashi's writing is so ahead of his time and very bold for Shonen Jump. Yeah, especially with those like queer themes we were talking about. Because of Yu Yu Hakusho's success, Jump let Togashi publish Level E monthly. That was very rare.
Monthly.
Okay, monthly.
oh wow, okay, that's really interesting.
I've done some searching, and apparently the Japanese in Level E is very hard to translate, humors and all. Yeah, I'm sure humor is like the hardest thing to translate, and I could tell. That's why I was like, I do think the criticisms are fair, and I 100% agree, but I did appreciate how well. I mean, obviously, I can't speak Japanese. I don't know what the original text said, but dense ideas translated in a pretty digestible way.
Yeah, like I remember specifically from the Color Ranger story actually, where like one of the powers was like a classic Japanese tongue twister. And, that must have been so hard to figure out. Like, how do I put this in English? So like, I respect the translator or the scanlators for trying to tackle stuff like that at least.
Did any of you guys try to do the tongue twisters too? Because I did.
No, I didn't.
I'm gonna be so real. I read that chapter while I was doing my workout in the gym, so I was not about to expend energy.
How the hell? That's
on
crazy.
That one.
Bro's maxing out everything at once.
Listen, I needed to fit in the time where I could.
So be it. I really love the concept of that aliens are living with us in disguise, and I like the comedy scene too. Togashi really went 3 for 3 when it comes to main characters. Yeah, that is true. He's a great main character. My favorite arc was definitely that Power Ranger arc. Oh yeah. I'm glad to see everyone else agrees.
Very good choice. Okay, so thank you for the comment.
Yes.
Next up, we got
Strep
Strep to Beep saying the picture next to the author comment in Volume 1 really looks like an early version of Beans.
Yes,
and
I included it here. So
it really
does, and it's like this is what Beans would have looked like as a baby. Like maybe he started this way.
He started as like a mushroom
he aged
stalk
into what he is now. It's entirely possible.
It looks exactly like him, the head at least, obviously. So like,
it looks a little phallic as well.
I was about to say, be careful with your wording.
It's a thin shaft, bro. I don't know.
Is that the first usage of the word shaft on the Hunter Association?
It might just be.
Could be.
Well, at least in that context, probably.
Next up is from Makio, who says, Level E is an underrated gem in the Western manga sphere. I went through a Togashi deep dive many years ago after having grown up with Yu Yu Hakusho. and coming to love Hunter x Hunter many years after the fact when the 2011 anime had just started airing. Level E is a fascinating read, especially if you're familiar with Hunter x Hunter, because you can pinpoint and trace all the fun world-building decisions and character dynamic decisions he makes in Hunter x Hunter back to Level E, which is ironically a comedy for the most part. You can really tell he let loose here by writing scenarios that include a broad variety of his own personal interests. This includes sports, alien creatures, RPGs, and politics. All these things can be seen in Yu Yu Hakusho, but it's much more clear in Level E that he's exploring why he enjoys these things rather than shoehorning them into his pre-established shonen action story. That's really good. That's a good observation. Yeah, I would agree
like
with that. Not to say that all of these ideas in Yu Yu Hakusho are poorly implemented, just that you can feel he's exploring his relationship with them on a deeper level. You can also see his writing style evolve to cover a gambit of interesting character interactions across different groups and coalitions rather than just focusing on a smaller core cast for the entirety of the story. You can also look back at Hunter x Hunter and see that he weaved all these experiences into his magnum opus, combining the success of Yu Yu Hakusho with the fun whimsy of Level E. I was somewhat skeptical of his ability to sustain an interesting comedy for an entire manga the first time I read it, but the man is the GOAT and did not disappoint. I remain spoiler-free because I don't know how in-depth the discussion will be, but if you're a Togashi fan, I can say it's well worth your time. Couldn't agree more.
Really good comment.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't really pick up or ponder the observation that going back and forth between these different groups and coalitions could have been what Hunter x Hunter was inspired by, partially, just the idea of doing that, which is very apparent in an arc like Succession Contest, especially. But just overall the presentation as well, just jumping to multiple points of view throughout the series. That's a really good point. And then like you said, kind of this entire thing just being Togashi writing I won't say pours his heart out necessarily, but it's really focused on the connections with these thematics and experiences rather than a central story that has them intertwined in it. It's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the points about him writing about his interests. That isn't really a perspective I thought about while reading this, but it's definitely true. I mean, he's kind of just running the gauntlet of all the things he has passions for throughout this story, and I think that's a nice way to look at it. It kind of paints it in a new light, which I really like. It doesn't make me like the baseball chapter anymore, but it is very clear that he has an interest in baseball, and that's what stemmed that's what spawned the creation of that chapter, I suppose. You're up, Brayden.
I'm up. Okay. I cannot speak Japanese, but Japanese text 07M. Yeah. Says, my second favorite manga only to Hunter x Hunter. IMO has more depth than any other manga release. There's a mangaka called Yamada Reiji, that actually sounds familiar, who has a really good analysis on YouTube. You guys might want to check it out, even though it's in Japanese. Okay. That's interesting.
Not sure how accessible that would be to us, but I mean, that is interesting. I would, if there's subtitles, I would check it out.
Am I supposed to read the other comments as well, the thread, or?
Yeah, go for it.
YTCH is called Yamada Reiji no Young Sunday. It's an hour long, and you'll need quite a lot of knowledge about manga history and Japanese history in general, so it will be pretty hard to understand. You might want to watch it in the future. By the way, it's not really about what's...
Fine with it.
What's that?
So it sounds like Kaige will be fine watching it.
Yeah. By the way, it's not really about what's being written. It's mainly about what made Togashi write Level E and what Togashi was trying to tell us. Okay. I mean, I'm always down to learn more about Togashi. I would love to understand that, but...
Yeah, I'll at least look into it because I would love to hear a mangaka talk about a manga. So I'm looking into this Yamada Reiji guy. I'm not familiar with his work, but it seems like his big hit is a manga called Zebra Man, which
I've heard of that, but I don't know what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Also did something called Medicine for Despair, which is a seinen.
Okay.
Ran for 10 volumes. So yeah, I not familiar with him, but I love to hear mangaka talking in general. So that's definitely something I'd love to check out.
Yeah, if it ends up being accessible, just like, for English readers and speakers like ourselves, then yeah, I'd happily check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Next comment is from Viral Uno, saying, I loved reading through it. There are so many characters / themes that were similar to things in both Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. OG feels to me like a less sadistic Pariston. That's actually a really good character comparison.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
That's almost spot on. There was also some insanely cool art. The XY and XX male, and female was up there for me, and it had great comedy. I actually cracked up a few times. The funniest for me was when Kraft crashed the car after finding OG had stuck onto the bus.
Yeah.
The way it cut from them driving to a kid-like drawing to the car smashed on a tree and finishing with Kraft trying to think of a way to leave OG behind was hilarious. Okay, that part about the baseball story was pretty funny too.
That was the baseball story, yeah.
That was but that Kraft carried that on his back. So
that's right.
That's
that's a testament to Kraft, not the baseball story.
Exactly. My favorite stories were the ones involving OG's marriage / honeymoon and the horror one. Oh, okay. We have a wide variety of picks in these comments. Yeah. It caught me way off guard with how gruesome it was. I also really like the mermaid one.
Yeah, that's something we did talk about with that second story. Yeah, the gruesome part, like the art is cool and all that stuff, but I just really think it doesn't have a big hook. Like it just didn't reel me in. I don't know.
They should have leaned into that kind of presentation more throughout the chapters, but they just kind of hung on the actual investigation the entire time. Right. That's why it threw me off.
It was just people talking about what happened. I would have rather seen more stuff shown,
Mm-hmm. I wish there had been a bit more involvement from Satsui and Miho. They reminded me of Yusuke and Keiko.
Keiko, yes. I wanted to bring that up. Obviously, you guys haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho or read it, whatever.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely, those two are mirrors of Yusuke and Keiko 100%. They are written nearly the same way that those characters would have been written, and that was a lot of fun for me.
That's funny. Overall, I enjoyed reading through it and seeing more ideas from Togashi's mind put to paper.
Absolutely. Yeah, that seems to be a very a common sentiment there, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next is actually from Bluesky. Thank you.
Is it how long has it been since we've had a Bluesky reply?
Been a while. This comes from Condoriano? Something like that.
That sounds about right.
It says, great comedy series. Whenever I try to picture the Dark Continent, I imagine the isekai world the Color Rangers got stuck in. Yeah, that's something we talked about too. Yeah, it is pretty similar to what I would imagine being on the Dark Continent for sure.
Just a lot of freaky shit.
It's also very similar like the Demon World and Yu Yu Hakusho, but I mean, that's probably an intentional comparison.
All right, do we want to stick Brayden with the insert name comment?
No, we're going to split this one up in some capacity. Brayden, do you want to read that first bit up till until the first paragraph, and then Dylan will take over, and then I'll read the second screenshot.
For sure.
Or something like that.
Yeah, just tell me when to stop. Okay,
I'll stop at Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. Oh, okay. Excellent. It's a really interesting comedy that doesn't fall into the trappings of others in the genre. A lot of anime comedies feel the need to have a relatively high joke per page count, or even a serialized weekly joke format where each installment is a joke. This takes a lot more time in between its comedic moments in ways that benefit and hurt the story.
Brayden, you can speak to that a little bit because you've been catching up to Roboco recently.
Oh.
Yeah. That is true. I feel like I've been reading more comedy in general. What was that one, the Yokai Buster Murakami? I'm trying to slowly catch up to everything in Jump, and that was another one that...
we don't talk about that comedy.
Was screwed over by how many jokes it tried to put in. So, to be honest, it was kind of refreshing reading this and how sparse the jokes are, while it still managed to keep me entertained. On the whole, we've obviously talked about which ones we're not that fond of and kind of left us dry. But, yeah, I think it does benefit and sometimes hurt the story as well. Not that I don't think that the lack of jokes is what's wrong with the parts that are bad, but they definitely probably would have helped in those drier moments. Personally, I find the plots to go roughly in this order of enjoyability. Genuinely good and fantastic would be an alien on the planet, full moon, boy meets girl, honeymoon, and then there's flawed but still very interesting, which would tie into You're My Darling, Love Me Tender. Interesting but either lacks direction is From the Darkness, Crimes in Nature. And then Highs and Lows. Is Highs and Lows the name of the chapter, or is that?
No, these are his, like, he's categorizing.
Okay. Here Comes
saying,
Color Rangers.
Which I don't agree with that one.
Yeah, that's crazy. Genuinely didn't enjoy Field of Dreams.
Yeah, that's the baseball one.
Yeah.
So this is the most similar opinions we've shared so far, except for the Color Rangers.
Things.
What's the deal, insert name? I hope you explain yourself here.
Yeah, like that's so crazy to me.
I loved Color Rangers. Let's go ahead and kick it off, Dylan, with the rest of this comment here.
The first arc is the best example of how this change from standard format benefits the material, as its toned-down comedic elements, sense of world building, and genuinely interesting concepts disguise the fundamental joke at the heart of the plot, leaving the reader genuinely surprised by the outcome. I think Level E is at its best when it subdues its plot to provide for a greater comedic payoff and relies on Togashi's creativity to result in immersion. Once you're immersed, you're less likely to see subversion coming. And the first arc, Honeymoon and Full Moon, all effectively use this format to make some of the best plots in the series. That is a good point, actually, about how, like, the ending to that first story, especially with, like, you know, the other alien race being, like, baseball fans and, like, they were genuinely nice people. That was a really good payoff because, like, the world building and just, like, the way he was setting it up, it made you immerse, like, oh, man, this is a dangerous threat. Like, you know, what's going to happen? Kind of, like, led you on your heels the entire time and then just kind of pulled the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to see comedy and manga do more often. I think that makes it way more effective. Kind of touching on what Brayden was talking about earlier about how, like, you know, that could really benefit, like, a joke paying off, you know, in a comedy manga especially. But yeah. On the other hand, the Color Ranger saga, which I vibed with significantly less, really doesn't make the best use of this format, with the prince's bad personality already known to the reader and to the children, resulting in what felt like to me a dragged-out plot where everyone involved stayed entrenched in their positions.
That's what made it funny, though. I get that perspective, but that's what's funny about it. The whole time, they just don't want to do this. If they slowly started to want to do it, I would have liked that series less, actually. I'm kind of on the opposite end here with you.
In fairness, there was at one point in that story where they were touching on, like, hey, wait, this is kind of fun now. They were getting addicted to the whole thing.
That is true.
Right, but it didn't really stick.
But ultimately, they still hated OG's guts. At the end of it. When they found out he just was a dumbass, you know. So I get it. But yeah, it was entertaining to me too. So the kids are done with the prince's shit, and the prince is being a conniving SOB. Though ultimately, my biggest complaint with both it and Field of Dreams is I felt they dragged on significantly, especially in comparison with other plot lines. That isn't to say I didn't like everything about that plotline, though, as I do find many of the Sentai allusions humorous, and there are some of the funnier jokes in the series, like the manual and their teacher. But, oh yeah, the manual, that's just
we
massive.
didn't talk about that. That was awesome.
I forgot about that. But ultimately, the story felt like it didn't have a direction, and I feel that's supported by the ending, where even the plan he laid was like this. Has gone on long enough and tried to halt it, only to essentially reset it to 0 in the universe, dragging it out longer, even if we didn't see that. Togashi likes his complex game mechanics, though.
I just don't agree with that take. I don't
think I do either.
You articulated yourself well, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't agree it pretty much in any capacity. I everything you're saying didn't land for you, did land for me. So that's just fundamentally our opinions are different. We can't really...
I can't, like, so it's weird because the points that you're saying I feel like do apply to Field of Dreams, the baseball story. Like, it really does. But, like, I don't know. The Color Rangers was just in a completely different light to me.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Brayden?
No? I mean, yeah, I just disagree. I think the Color Ranger stuff is awesome.
Fair. Okay.
All right. You want to read one more paragraph, Dylan, and then I'll take the rest?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
From the darkness and crime of nature are short stories in this that are full of interesting ideas, but I'm not sure if they really further anything, nor do I find the comedy they introduce particularly funny. But viewing them from the perspective of independent sci-fi-like short stories, I don't think they are bad, just not elevating the rest of the series. Boy Meets Girl, though, I really like. It fleshes out the kids a bit more effectively by making use of the already established characterization to make perhaps a story in this that I think relies on inner character relationships and pathos to work. One of my only critiques with this series is that every character is static. The prince is the same prince at the beginning, craft is craft, etc. Nobody grows, and the story is pulled along by circumstance without really creating those thick interpersonal connections that draw me into the story. See, I think that's because this is a very short series and it's comedy focused.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
I think you just don't like. I don't think you like gag manga. Insert name. Because this is what they're all like.
That's what I'm hearing.
The characters are stagnant, and that's the point. There's no narrative being told here, really. I mean, you can sort of argue there is, but it's a comedic narrative. The characters aren't meant to grow in any capacity, and you do get that in Color Rangers. I think like the kids do grow in some capacity, and it kind of culminates in the mermaid story, which which is
why I'm surprised that you don't like the Color Rangers.
Yeah. Because that is like the narrative part, and this is fascinating. Keep going. Though.
This one is a glimpse, in my opinion, of what he could have done if he decided to go longer, because the mermaid character and the drama with kids are simple but effective, and have a bunch of small events like that strung together could have resulted in slow but meaningful development of the characters over time. So yeah, you do like that part at least, which makes sense given what you've described now. It's just interesting that you think like it needed to go on longer to be more effective, which I don't really agree with. I think it was like the perfect length, like that story specifically, the mermaid. So, interesting. Yeah. Really interesting stuff here.
Very interesting. So he goes on and says, I'm not going to comment too much on You're My Darling / Love Me Tender because there are better people than me who can discuss the shortcomings and benefits of the representation that this story touches on. Yeah, I that's kind of a similar thing with me. I would have talked about that even more, but I'm not exactly qualified to talk about it. I can say how I feel about it, but ultimately I can't speak 100%. I know it is not a perfect representation, but I think it is solid enough, especially for the time, like we said. Yeah, but ultimately, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
I think that comes as mature from you saying that that you don't feel like you have full qualification to talk on it. That's always appreciated.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I'm glad Togashi at least tries to represent trans individuals in his stories, even if he doesn't bat 100. Yeah. That's exactly how I view it too. It's just nice that he does anything at all. It's more than most other mangaka can say. Though I will say I appreciate the much needed representation of alien / monster fucker.
That's awesome. I like that.
True. All right, finally, here we go. Something we agree with. Field of Dreams drags on far too long. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Its setting is significantly less dynamic. It's literally just an empty baseball field, dude. It fucking sucks. What was he thinking?
Nothing.
And other than a great instance of Togashi drawing terrifying abominations, which admittedly is what I'd like Togashi to do more of, I find this one ultimately is so boring and drags on so long. Also not a big fan of the way he draws tans. Something about it just looks weird. Yeah, 100%. It looked off.
It was.
Why would they just put toners on the skin? That's so.
It was so strange. Yeah. It didn't work, to say the least.
No, it really didn't. Nail on the head, all around.
Oh, here we go. I ended up watching the anime while reading the manga concurrently. Okay, wow, that's cool. And I gotta say, the anime was the superior form IMO. Okay, let's see here. A lot of the jokes I felt were accented by sound design enough that it makes up for some of the dialogue and story needing to be cut or reworked. It doesn't adapt crime and darkness and crime and nature, a crime of nature at all. Oh, wow, really? With that episode count?
Those stories?
What the hell do they put in this adaptation? It's like 13 episodes.
That's so weird to me. Holy.
They skipped the whole story. I mean, we don't really like that story anyway, so that's fine with me. But still, that's very surprising. I lost my place. Things like the early scene when he is asked if the prince is an alien, and they reverb his voice to be an oscillating alien-like voice with his hand, and adding sound effects when he pokes the dude's finger makes some of the jokes land more effectively. It does lose the best part of this manga IMO, which are the large text boxes like the Prince's Diary and the Power Ranger Manual, which I consider absolute peak.
No.
Real Togashi lover right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny and how verbose it is. That's the point of those scenes, I think. And that's a shame that it's not in the anime. But the anime finds dynamic and fun ways of presenting that information concisely and is a vibrant, fun in a vibrant, fun manner that even if I find that singular aspect to be funnier in the source, I preferred the anime.
Well, now we figured out why the episode counts so long. You're spending an entire episode.
Yeah. I guguess watching the anime would also be a good way of getting an actual official translation of this story. So
True.
I
didn't think about that.
I'll definitely be checking out the anime at some point. I want to watch it for sure.
Me too.
I should say the anime has some atrocious CGI. Okay.
That sounds like a good time to me. I'd laugh at that.
But it's limited to a few things like puppets. Though the Prince, Terror Sandwich, and then Beasts in the baseball story are truly terrible.
Those are CGI? That sounds
That
awesome.
sounds really bad. Why didn't they skip that story?
Good question.
But ultimately, the pace of a lot of the stories I find were added to or cut in such a way that pacing improved. Pretty much every one of the stories that adapts, I think, are better in the anime, and the ones that aren't are extremely close.
That's reassuring to hear. That's really nice.
I'll absolutely check it out. 49.5 out of 60 needs more owl. That's fair.
That's fair.
that would, I mean, that's probably the biggest complaint here is Owl is not featured in any capacity, actually.
Brayden, do you remember who Owl is?
No, he doesn't.
Can't say I do. Who is
Ultimately, I liked it a lot, but a lack of good character relationships and development makes me wish it had more. But for what it is, it's great, and I wish he did more sci-fi.
Togashi doing more sci-fi would be really interesting, actually. I wouldn't be opposed to that if, Hunter x Hunter were to actually finish one day and he was to still be like alive at that point. I don't know. But I don't know. I think Level E in general is just a good presentation of just concepts that he has and how good it can be. If it was to be fleshed out a little bit more, I can respect that. Yeah,
100%. Thank you as always for the comment insert name. Love picking apart what you have to say.
Definitely. Unless Brayden has anything else to add, I think this does it for the community comments section. No? Okay. Yeah, so just as another reminder, if you want to get in on the action week to week, make sure you check out our community posts on all of our socials, or you can email us at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com with any thoughts you have.
That is correct. And with that, this has been the Hunter Association. Thank you so much for listening. We are available on all major podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube for the video version. Be sure to follow, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter at TXHXAPod, as well as Bluesky at just THAPod, for updates on the show and as an alternative way to submit responses to the weekly call-out posts. As always, we'll be here the same time, every week, talking about Hunter x Hunter, except this week we didn't talk about Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, no, but Togashi related.
We talked about it.
It's fine.
We did talk about it.
We did talk about it.
Yes. Brayden, thank you for coming on, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Glad to be here. It's just like talking to the boys like normal, except much more professional, less crude.
We're glad to have finally gotten you on an episode in general. We've been searching for a way to include you.
Yeah. Where can people find you online? What do you want to plug?
Blue Sky. I post fit pics. I chat a little bit every now and then. Repost something funny, and I just reopened my YouTube channel. To be honest, I don't know what the how the link for that works, so I'm sure I'll just have you guys plug it in the old D box. But yeah, if you guys want to check out my
and the title
my
also.
singular uploaded video, check that out, guys. My favorite albums of last year.
Yes, and I watched that video, and it was very entertaining. I thought very informative as well. So definitely go check it out if any of you listeners are, if you like music.
Yeah, music fans out there, check it out.
Music junkies.
Yeah. Dylan, how about you?
So you can find me on the usual socials on Twitter and Bluesky at DJ Tengen. That's DJTENGEN. You guys know the drill. I'm a huge nerd. I post about a lot of random shit. So go follow me if you're interested.
And you can follow me on Blue Sky at Kaige10. That's KIIGE10. Posting not a whole lot lately, but post whenever I feel like it. Check it out.
That's the way to do it.
That's right. And next week, guys, we will be continuing Hunter x Hunter 99. We'll be doing episodes 4 through 6. So if you're watching along with us, watch those episodes. And yeah, I'll have the community post up in the morning tomorrow as of when this is uploaded. So comment, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yep. Pretty simple. Do your homework, guys.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we will. And of course, Brayden, we would love to have you back on again at some point. Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
I'm sure I'll see you guys again.
Actually, we'll never see each other again after this recording. So
yeah, actually, we regret to inform you, you're banned from the channel indefinitely.
And being our friends, I don't think I really want to talk to you anymore after this. But sorry, I should have said that off mic. But I mean,
yeah, whatever. The world deserves to know.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. I mean, he
he
didn't know Wobble, guys. I mean, can you really blame me?
It was meant to be this result.
All right, well, I will never talk to this loser again. So I mean, see you, man. Whatever.
Goodbye, man.
All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, see you then. OBS is rolling. And
I'm gonna start fucking.
What?
What the fuck?
What is this?
As soon as I start rolling OBS. I'm just gonna stop on that. Has to be. I'm gonna keep OBS rolling. This is fucking hilarious.
What is that? The void consumed him. What the fuck is that?
I don't know, man.
Oh my god.
Wait, did it take the photo or not? Fuck.
And on this week's episode, we are joined by special guest Brayden Farrell.
The myth, the man, the legend.
Who is this, you may ask? Speak, Brayden. Who are you?
Speak. Wait, can we start?
Oh my god. Okay.
I knew it. I fucking knew this would happen.
Okay. Sorry, I just got shot.
Just
It's
say
fine.
like a little who you are after I say that, and then shut up for a
Okay.
bit, and then we'll interview you after the intro.
Okay.
That was funny.
Okay. Lock in. Okay.
Hey,
Hello,
real quick, what do we do?
What?
What do we do if my internet goes out?
Well,
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
that's a
You guys
problem
will
for
see me.
We'll keep rolling, and then that will be a problem for editing.